say something briefly about the ASPP then, to kind of cap this before we have questions. We do offer grants in aid of publication. They are $8,000 grants that are paid directly to your qualified Canadian scholarly publisher after the book has appeared, if you are approved for a grant. It probably, or should at least go without saying, that we don't have the money to fund everything that comes to us. I mean, that's just never going to happen. Our publications committee members are the ones who make recommendations on whether or not a work gets funded. It is the publishers who, of course, make the decisions about what they publish. And things that we decline to fund do get published. I know because I see them in the catalogue. So that's, as John was saying, there are various sources of funding. And, of course, it is each editorial board's individual decision as to what to put their resources into. But the way that it generally works is the ASPP is an author's program. That is, the grant accrues to the specific work, so that authors may submit directly to us. And about between 10 and 13% of our submissions every year do come directly from authors. However, the majority do come from scholarly publishers, such as the ones we have represented at this table. I often recommend, if people are talking to me about it, that particularly newer scholars, rather than submitting directly to us, do try to work with an editor first. Not because we don't want to talk to you, but simply because you will bring material to an editor who will let you know whether or not it's really ready to go to us. And at the ASPP, you only have one shot at what we call revise and resubmit. So if you receive a recommendation that you revise and resubmit something, you can only do that once. If you go to a publisher and your work really needs quite a lot of revision, quite a lot of work before we should see it, that's part of what they're there to do. If you do submit to us on your own, we will get the peer reviews, just as publishers do, and we will advise you on responding to them. I think it's safe to say, in terms of one thing that can be said about author responses, regardless of the circumstances, is that it is always in an author's interest to take the high road in a response. Most reviews that you'll get will be extremely detailed, gracious, helpful. It is incredible the amount of work that some reviewers will put into. I mean, I've seen things pretty well copy edited, really. In reviews. But occasionally you get reviewers who are, a little blunt or whatever, and the thing that I always tell authors is that you are in no way obliged to agree with every recommendation that's made or everything that's said, but it always is to your advantage to engage as graciously and fully with any concerns that a reviewer does express, regardless of how he or she expresses them. So if you come to us, again, the process is pretty much identical in terms of the peer review to those of publishers, and then it goes to our publications committee members, and they will make one of a number of recommendations. They'll either recommend that we fund a work, they'll recommend that an author revise and resubmit the work, they may recommend that a work not be funded, in which case it cannot come back to us after revisions, or it may go to adjudication. Adjudication is something carried out by our management board that is for works that are good enough to fund but aren't quite of the high caliber that our publications committee has deemed as sort of the cutoff level for instant funding. And our our management board adjudicate several times a year groups of files that have been sent to them for that purpose. If you are declined for funding, again, it's not a personal thing, and it is a matter of our publications committee and our management board having to allocate limited funds to a pool that is bigger than we can fund. So again, that's a matter for then between you and your publisher in terms of what becomes of that work. So that's just a brief rundown of how ASPP works. Our guidelines are available on the Federation's website. And I guess at this point we should throw the floor open to questions.